What's up, everybody? Today we are here with the Mighty Kings of PHG, which stands for the PinkHouse Group Foundation. We are extremely excited today to welcome you to our first podcast. And for those who took the time out your schedule for an especially important segment on the awareness of epilepsy and homelessness. And now I'm your host, Sakeem Gordine, and now introducing to you the men of the Mighty Kings of PHG, Andre Butler.
How y'all doing?
Eddie Hall.
How's everybody doing?
And of course, myself, the one and only Sakeem Gordine. Again, I would like to thank you for tuning in. We have an especially important message and program today on epilepsy and the awareness of epilepsy and the effects of it and being in a state of homelessness. Also, we are having a podcast telethon to raise money for a sports rehabilitation / rec center in honor of an especially important mentee and member of the Mighty Kings, Prana Bell, who passed away last year due to epilepsy. And to that, we also have special guests, OG Prana Bell, mother of Prana Bell, RN Kent Alfred, Chief Nursing Officer and Chief Nurse Executive of Poplar Springs Behavioral Hospital and Executive Vice President of 100 Black Men in Prince George's County. We also have today Dr. Medhin Gebreamlak, MD, with Elaine Ellis Center of Health, who is a doctor of nursing who specializes in behavioral and mental health, substance abuse, and family medicine. And our singers for the hours are Liz Faizon and APT JT Justin Thompson with Corp FDC. So we thank you so far. Our views today, I understand that you guys of the Mighty Kings
Yes.
have a signature mentorship program with the PinkHouse Group, which is a proud member of the Maryland nonprofit organization throughout the DMV. With CEO and founder Sandra Gordine of the PinkHouse Group, Inc. It is a minority and women-owned 501c3 nonprofit charitable organization that focuses on holistic approach to youth advocacy and outreach for at-risk homeless, pregnant, and or displaced youth in the DMV area. They place high value on the holistic healing process with hopes to help tackle the unresolved issues by showing acts of love, support, caring, and sharing in our smaller, disfranchised communities. The PinkHouse Group continuously strives to connect and develop collaborative partnerships that will foster and broader awareness of an isolated, forgotten youth population. Our signature programs provide mentorship, build career pathways, financial integrity training, access to housing, health care, mental health counseling resources, and new expected parent support. We are committed to changing lives step by step and brick by brick. So, welcome, Mighty Kings.
What's up, man? How you feeling?
How's it going today?
All right, how you doing?
I'm so excited that we're able to do this podcast on today. I'm excited for the mere fact that we are the Mighty Kings and we're reaching out to our young men to at least mentor them and show them the right way and guidance and to empower them and strengthen them. They say in the Bible, iron sharpen iron. And I believe that we organization and we are out there just out to lend a helping hand to these young men. There's a lot of violence going on in our communities. There's a lot of mental health issues. There's a lot of drug abuse. And so we want to just be a beacon of hope, a beacon of light to show these men, young men, some of the right ways to go, not to fall in some of our footsteps that we did and we learned from, but also to instruct them and show them the right way.
Yeah, just to do our part. It might be a small part, but we're just trying to do something, to do a part. Show them that there's different ways to do anything. Don't follow the status quo of what you see everybody else doing. Be yourself. Be an individual. Just do you.
So this signature mentorship program of the PinkHouse Group with the Mighty Men, it launched in September 2nd of 2020, which we focused on mentoring and developing homeless males between the ages of 15 and the age of 24. And by all means, we're going to be working on even to older age, because if you're homeless and you need mentoring, period,
Never stops.
it never stops.
Right.
Like we said, we had to overcome some things in our life, some different than others, but we had to overcome them. I'm just going to do a quick thing about homeless. So what is homelessness, right? You may be homeless if you're sleeping rough, do not have rights to stay where you are, or you live in unsituate housing, right? When you are homeless, the definition of homeless means is not having a home. You are homeless if you have nowhere to stay and are living on the streets. But you can be homeless even if you have a roof over your head. Sometimes life throws us a curveball. And, some people might say, hey, look, well, you got family members you can lean on. And sometimes I had this conversation with Andre. He said sometimes God has to put us in a place where you can't run to your family or you can't run to a safe net. Sometimes God has to put you apart in a place where God can do work.
Yep.
So what I want to go to now is we had an event, maybe it was like last year or maybe October.
Yeah.
And we met this special kid, man, at the time, or man, Mighty Bell.
Oh, yeah.
We met Mighty Bell, and we met maybe 3 or 4 other gentlemen along with him. And this was our first event. And that first event was called Males from, and there was a male from Sasha Bruce. The theme of the day was in the driver's seat. In the driver's seat.
And so that was a great event that we were able to partnership with Sasha Bruce. I was able to grab about 4 to 5 young men to participate and to mentor, to see if they were open for mentorship. And one of the things that we did, we went out to the go-kart race. Some of the young men never even rode a go-kart before. And so they had a great time. I know I did, racing with the young men. And Mighty Bell was one of the young men that stood out accepting the mentorship from us. So in other words, he was our first young mighty king. And so he was one of the ones who were willing to put in the work to participate, to move forth in an effort in which where he can better himself. The young men from Promise Place were the young men that was in a homeless shelter. And I was working there. I am working there at the time, and so I thought it might be a good event to bring them out to see if they can we can mentor them. And so that's what it was. Monty was our first one. He was, you guys spoke, y'all just gave him some real life situations and gave him some real wisdom, and he loved that. He liked to take instructions and get knowledge from men. That's what I was talking about when men iron sharpen iron. And he received it really well. And we continued to mentor him. He continued to participate and help in our events. And so we grew relationship with him. I had known him a few years prior to that. And so he became part of our organization, part of our mentorship program. And so those are the events that we want to do to grab these young men off the streets, to put down the guns, to stay away from doing negative things, but mentorship, mentoring them into being a real man.
Awesome. We also have some key programs that Andre, you kind of oversight. I want to get you guys' opinion on what do you think about these future outings that we're going to do. they have a very strong ring to them. Of greatness. You have outing that's going to be called "Keep Your Eyes on the Prize." To you, what is keeping your eyes on the prize, Andre?
Setting goals for yourself, not some short-term goals, but ultimately set a long-term goal of what you want to be, the person you want to become in your life when it's all said and done. What do you want to be known for? What do you want to be remembered for? Doing. When that day comes when he calls for you to come. And along with doing that, you got to understand that along that journey and along that path, you're not always going to have your friends with you. I mean, every human being, you got 3 of your best friends with you everywhere you go. Fear, worry, and doubt. They're going to go with you everywhere you go.
Right.
That's everybody's baggage. I don't care who you are. So I think that's the most difficult. Those 3 friends are the most difficult friends that you have to learn how to deal with and cope with and try to leave behind as best as you can. So I would always use an analogy for different aspects of my life. I had my partying and wild and had a ball. I loved it. But you hit a crossroad in your life where you look to the left and all you see is the chaos. Because that's what it ultimately becomes when you start to mature. This chaos. There's no more partying and drinking. It's just chaos. But then you look to the right and you don't see nothing but road till it meets the sky. But you know nothing about what's down that road. Nothing. So then you might look to your left again. Nah, I'm not ready for that. So you go back into the chaos. Yeah. But that chaos is nothing but a big circle that's going to lead you right back to that crossroad again.
Yeah.
So how many more times you going to keep going and making that left into the chaos before you decide to make that right? Just take that journey of the unknown. So you may take that journey, and then that's where your 3 best friends going to sit in fear, worry, and doubt. And hey, man, come on, man. Nah, what's down here? Man, we can't see nothing. Hey, what's that? Then you start panicking. Nah, I'm not ready for this. So you might turn back, but then that one day, you're going to walk, and you're just going to keep on walking, and you're going to keep on walking, and you're going to keep on walking. Then fear going to sit in, man, look, I got to take a break, man. Come on, let's sit down and take a break. Man, we got some water back down the other way. Let's go on back down the other way. You're like, nah, you sit here, I'm going to keep going. Then doubt going to set in, well, man, we can't leave fear. Well, I'm going to go back and get fear. Wait for me here. Yeah, all right, I'm going to keep going. Then worry, man, how you going to leave them 2 behind? They've been with you all your life.
Right.
But you go back and get them. I'm going to keep going. So, and I mean, that's what I ultimately did with my life. I just kept going. And then on that journey, I was by myself a lot because of certain people that I hung with. They still my friends to this day. But I had to ultimately make the change for what I wanted to do with my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then I could circle back around because I'm doing these things. Reached the goal. Then once I reached that goal, I set more goals. Like now, I mean, I reached a goal in my life, so now I have more goals that I set for myself.
Yeah.
And I just keep going, and it just keeps going, and it just keeps going. And sitting here with you guys, for me, it's almost like it's supposed to be, because all 3 of us have similar situations, but different, but we all 3 of us bring something uniquely different to this table and to this organization. And it's something so uniquely different that once you put it together as one, it's a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things I noticed when I talk to the young men, they don't have no goals. They don't know where they're going to do, what they're going to do, how they're going to do it 2 to 3 years from now.
And that's where it starts.
And that's where it starts. And the Bible say, without a vision, the people perish. You know what I'm saying? And so some of these young men don't even see themselves even in a better situation. And that's sad.
You know, the thing is, I'm going to identify with them. I'm going to put myself in their shoes because I was in their shoes. And at some point, we all
Mm-hmm.
was in their shoes. I was homeless. Some people know and some people don't know that I was homeless. And sometimes life hits us with a curveball. Sometimes we also put ourselves in situations and we can't get ourselves out. I believe the Lord put me in a situation of homelessness so I can identify with other homeless males and along with females, because males are not the only ones that are homeless. And not necessarily that you're, like the definition said, that you would have to be out on the street. You can be living in someone else's house and you're still considered homeless because it's not yours. Even this earth is borrowed. So we're all homeless until we get to the ultimate goal, which is in the mansion in the sky. So I definitely identify with these guys because I remember I didn't have no direction.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe the Lord had me where he wanted me so I can see what was going on.
You had to hear his voice.
I had to hear his voice.
Take that chaos from you.
And he had to, that's right. And he
so
had
you
to,
can hear his voice.
so I could hear his voice. He wanted that time alone. But he had to show me some things. And in all things, we shouldn't take a bad situation and think it's always a bad situation. We got to look at it as an opportunity to say, hey, look, where am I? Where can I fix this? And this is something I told Mighty Bell. I said, you have to look at your situation and don't look at it as a bad situation. Look at it as a good situation.
The glass half full.
Right. And so,
Always room.
so we need to empty some things out sometimes so he can fill us back up
My God.
and give us our purpose.
Yeah.
So I understand now that my purpose is to help homeless men, homeless women, and evidently that's on all of our plates.
Yeah.
The greatest thing God has given men is to be a mentor, and it has always been that way. We are to take up the slack of the fatherless. We are to take up the slack for those who need the help. And when I first came here, I had a different plan. But God, I went to my aunt's house and he just had a different opportunity with the PinkHouse Group and meeting the men, which we are now called the Mighty Kings of the PinkHouse Group, to help dying men and women, get back on their feet. One thing, when I was homeless, I felt helpless, and I met two guys that were already there. One was an old head and the other one was a young cat. He always had a headphone set on his head. I called him Radio. That's what I called him, because he always bebopping and had his headphone on. But I knew when it came to an end. I was working. I was homeless. I was working. I was driving rental cars, and these people are looking at me like, "Why are you here?" I'm driving cars, and it's just I still had the grace of God. I'm not saying that they didn't. And when I knew it was my time to be up, the old head said, he said, "Young blood," he said, "you don't belong here." He said, "You don't belong here. I believe the Lord done his work." He said, "You don't belong here anymore." And he said, "Keep your head up." And then Radio, called him Radio. He said, "Before you leave," he said, "keep your nose clean." Keep your nose clean. Which means I believe the Lord said, hey, don't get back in this situation, but learn from your experience.
Yeah.
So go forth. And the Bible, it said the poor you have with you always, right? And we think of poor, you could be poor in finance. You can be in poor relationships with the Lord. You can just be straight out on the street. And we are men and women, we have to realize this is what we're here for.
Yeah.
And so we have to keep our eyes on the prize of the high calling, to keep pushing forward and to teach these men or teenagers, or even children, our children, that you don't have to stay down, because we were not meant to stay down. We were meant to get up and rise and keep going and conquering.
I had a passion for homelessness. My aunt was, She ran the mobile homeless van run ministry at Ebenezer AME Church, and every other Saturday, we would go and gather food, and also go down to the parks down in downtown DC and feed the homeless. And for me, at 10, 12 years old, I thought this was the best thing to do, to have fun, to go out. The weather's nice. I mean, you meet different people, and it afterwards, at that age, it felt so gratifying to give somebody something to eat. And you really, honestly, you don't realize it till you get older. You was like, man, they didn't have nowhere to stay. They didn't have nothing to eat. It makes you extremely grateful for some of the small stuff. You know what I mean? And so even at that age, I had a passion to reach out to the homeless people and to make sure, even now, if I'm walking and I feel as though that person, I ask them, do you want something to eat? You know? Yeah. We don't, some of us, I mean, we throw a lot of food away. Right. I mean, we go to fancy restaurants and realizing some of these people haven't eaten for days. And we eat 4 or 5 times a day. But yeah, that drew me a passion for reaching out to those that are homeless. Even the Bible says Jesus himself was homeless. Yeah. He said foxes have holes, birds have nests, but the Son of Man don't even have a place to lay his head. Yes, sir. And then also one of the scriptures that my aunt talked about, it says when I was hungry, when I was thirsty, when I didn't have any clothes or had nothing to drink. He said when you give and do these things to these people, you do it as you doing it as unto me. And so it's very gratifying and always want to reach out to those who are homeless. And plus, really honestly, we live in America. I don't think nobody should be homeless. The amount of stuff that we waste, we throw away, how much taxes, all of that stuff. It should be at least a facility where someone who wants to come and lay their head could be able to lay their head. And all of the food restaurants throw away. We should not be in the situation where we are now. And so it's a big burden that we have to all just try to help and assist out. And that's why I'm so drawn to the PinkHouse Group, because our main goal is to help homeless people, homeless, disfortunate people, and to reach out to them in any type of special way.
Okay. So just to give you the number of homeless in the United States is estimated at 552,830. White House with around 500,000 individuals living in a state of homelessness. Things are not looking great. Still, on the bright side, it is a small percentage compared to the overall population, which count is over 327.2 million homeless people.
Wow.
Out here in the world. And how many unaccompanied minors are homeless in the U.S. as well. And this is where, we're taking our role in to try to help these young people get out of that state and the state of mind of being homeless. It says each year the estimated 4.2 million youth and young adults experience homelessness, of which 700,000 are unaccompanied minors, meaning they are not part of a family or accompanied by a parent or guardian. On any given night, approximately 41,000 unaccompanied youth ages 13 to 25 is experiencing homelessness.
That's ridiculous. That is so ridiculous. And the thing about that is, it's sad, man. It really is that we have those numbers that large dealing with homelessness, and the amount of price that houses cost these days is ridiculous. And probably through the pandemic, a lot of people lost jobs.
Got worse.
Yeah.
Got worse.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So we have this next one. It's called, I like this one. I think this is something everybody should do. It's called Take Out the Trash. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we have a lot of baggage in our life.
Whoa.
And sometimes we need to throw the baggage out because it drags us.
Yeah.
So what are your guys' opinion on taking out the trash?
And like you said, we all got baggage. We all got to do some spring cleaning sometimes. Some of us like to hold on to it and kind of keep that door shut tight as much as possible, but eventually that door gonna crack open because you keep throwing trash in there and you don't want to get rid of it. Sometimes you just gotta what's the word my wife used?
When you're hoarding it, right?
Yeah, there you go. Gotta get rid of some of that old stuff and get some of that new stuff in there.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, hey, that's all of us, just as humans. You know, we gotta let go of some of that trash, that extra baggage, the stuff that's weighing you down. Let it go. It'll be there if you want to come back and pick it back up. It ain't gonna go nowhere. Just let it go and just go on about your business. And if you feel as though you need it for some reason, it's gonna sit right there because ain't nobody gonna come and pick up your baggage or your trash and take it. They got their own stuff to worry about.
Yeah, the thing about that is we got to encourage these young men to let some of that
Let it
stuff
go.
in their past go. Some stuff don't need to move forward with you in your future. Some garbage stinks. It's heavy. It's in the way. It's not supposed to stay with you. Some pain, some disappointment, some frustration in their lives, all of our lives. Some bad relationships, some things going on in our families. We need to just throw it out. Forget about it. Encourage our young men to move forward and to keep on keeping on.
You know, and to add to that, to these two great comments is another thing sometimes we forget is forgiving. You know, we have to forgive ourselves of wounds that we continue to lick to make better. We have to forgive to move forward. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people who are in these shelters, they have a lot of blame. They have a lot of like doubt and a whole lot of other things going on that, you know, we ask ourselves the question why. Yeah. We ask ourselves the question why I'm in this situation, why I was chosen for this situation, and I'm going to say sometimes why not? Mm-hmm. In life, we have to be sharpened. In life, we have to have experience to be able to go through and tell someone else that I went through this and I came out alive. So I want to add, you know, forgiveness is a major key. Also to let go of the baggage. And a lot of people say forgiveness is not for the other person. Forgiveness is for you, so you can move forward, so that you can get rid of that trash. God says, I throw your sins and the things that you do in the sea of forgetfulness, and I remember them no more. Right? So we got to be able to be men and women to understand why we are where we are and don't stay where we are, and forgive ourselves and forgive others and leave the trash for the trash man to get.
Yes, sir. That's good teaching right there, Doc.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So we have another one. You know, we were like kind of restricted from doing some of these things through COVID.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward on to doing some more events. But you're just a little bit about you, Andre. You very devoting and loving father. I hear you, how you mentor your daughter in sports and all these great things.
Yeah. I mean, as a parent, you know, you want to support your kids as much as possible. And it's going to come to that point as they get a little older, whereas you as a parent, you're going to see certain things in your child because it's a reflection of you. Mm-hmm. You know what they're going to do before they get ready to do it because, hey, I was 5 years old. I did the same thing.
Yeah. So,
but it's going to come to that point that in life where certain things that they're doing and it's challenging to them. So I try to just, my wife and I try to just keep her encouraged and keep going, even with my oldest. Just keep going, keep trying. I shouldn't believe in yourself more than you believe in you. Because if I'm believing in you more than you believing in yourself, I can't do it for you.
Right.
You're the one that has to do it. If this is what you want to do, I can get you to the door. I can open the door for you, and at a certain age, I'll walk into the door with you to make sure you understand what's going on in this room. But ultimately, the older you get, okay, I'm gonna walk you to the door. I'll open the door. You're gonna have to walk in the room.
Mm-hmm.
So all of those doors in those rooms that I walked into which is opportunities of you telling us certain things that you want to do. Now you have to remember all of those lessons that was taught in these rooms or caught in the rooms, and you have to apply them for yourself. Yeah. And then the older you get, I can walk to the door. I can't open the door. You got to open the door if you want to go in there, and this is what you want to do. Yes. You have to make that decision of what you want. So that's what I try to teach, both of my girls. It's going to get to a point that, okay, you want to make this decision? Okay, I'm going to encourage you. But like my oldest is 22. All right, that's what you want to do? All right, cool. I might give her a little bit of wisdom here and there. You got to do it. I'm not walking you to the door. I'm not driving you to the building. You're 22. Go for it. And she's doing exceptionally well with her life. So now I have my 11-year-old. She likes to play basketball. Okay. You sure this is what you want to do?
Yes.
This game is fun, but it's also hard at times because there are going to be little girls that are going to be way better than you. You play with them. You learn from them. Keep going. So that's about all I can say. And carry those same traits with these young men that we planning on mentoring, that want to help. I mean, everybody's not going to be receptive to what we're saying. But if I get 10 of them and 2 of them hear what I'm saying, they're going to carry that message. Yeah. Put them in front of 10, so that's 20. So out of them 20, that guy got 10, he got 10. Say 3 of them pick it up, and 2 over here pick it up. And it just keeps going and keep going and going and going and going. And before you know it, you'll have hundreds of young men, youth, just hearing what you're saying. But they have to act on it. So.
That was great. Mm-hmm. And Mr. Eddie Hall, like you said, you've been in the game with this, mentoring, and you also deal with the ladies, so you deal with both sides of the equation and their feelings and their emotions,
Yeah, well, a lot of times I'm on this. I say what Martin Luther King say: if I can help somebody as I pass along with the word or with a song, then my living is not in vain. And so I try my best to empower them. A lot of these kids have been torn down so much. They have so much trauma that they have faced from their childhoods and the society itself. But the main thing is to try to empower them, encourage them to see themselves better than all of us want to be better than what our parents were. Yes. We want to do more. We want to go more. We want to have more money. We want to be more successful. And so that's my main thing is I have a passion for that, to empower them, strengthen them, and encourage them not to go the way that I went so that they can learn from that. And I think it's very clear. It takes a village to raise a child. And so if we come as a society, as black people, empower and encourage one another, we'll be a lot more stronger. We'll be a lot more solid. We'll be a lot more together than opposed of tearing each other down, stealing and abusing one another. We could just come to the grips where we can encourage one another. I think things would be different.
Okay, well, guys, this has been a great segment. We're going to move on with a song selection. And at that time, we're going to be doing with the podcast, we're going to do a telethon to raise money for epilepsy awareness and those are the youth and stuff that are homeless, to raise money for buildings and for the funds to carry on the mission of the PinkHouse Group and the Mighty Kings of the PinkHouse Group.
We want to encourage those who would like to give to help with this cause to participate. We have had, over the past 3 years, we have had some large number of people who was assisting us with doing a lot of the activities of our organization pertaining towards end-time giving. And during this pandemic, our organization has fed over 100 essential workers, being a blessing to them, partnershiping with restaurants. And so we were able to give donations and lunch and breakfast and all of that, just a giving to these essential workers. But if you would like to be partnership, you would like to help us out with this endeavor, we strongly ask that you would, you can participate through the $, the PinkHouse Group on Cash App, and you can participate. And if you would love, no amount is too small, and no amount is definitely not too big, but we would love if you would like to participate in giving and helping us with this endeavor. We have a lot on our plate, and we want to do a lot of things. We have a big vision, and you could participate in doing that, and it should show up on the screen right now. Thank you very much.
I keep fighting voices in my mind that say I'm not enough. Every single lie that tells me I will never, ever measure up. Am I more than just the sum of every high and every low? Remind me once again just who I am, because I need to know. You say I am loved when I can't feel a thing, and you say I am strong when I feel I am weak, and you say I am held when I am falling short, and when I don't belong. Oh, you say I am yours, and I believe, yes, I believe. What do you say of me? I believe. The only thing that matters now is everything you think of me. In you I have my strength, in you I have identity. Hey, you say I'm loved when I can't feel a thing, and you say I am strong when I feel I am weak, and you say I am held when I am falling short, and when I don't belong. Oh, you say I am yours, and I believe, yes, I believe. What do you say of me? Yes, I believe. The only thing that matters is everything you think of me. I'm laying all I have at your feet. 'Cause you say I am loved when I can't feel a thing. And you say I am strong
MD Bio. Dr. Medhin Gebreamlak is a doctor of nursing who specializes in behavioral/mental health, substance abuse, and family medicine. Since 2020, he has been a prominent clinical fixture at both Elaine Ellis Center of Health's, EECH, Washington, D.C. and College Park MD Health Center locations where he sees and treats a diverse and multicultural patient population. Dr. Gebreamlak brings a wealth of experience and medical expertise to the EECH medical team. He holds a doctorate of nursing degree from Brandman University in Irvine, CA, a Master of Science in Nursing degree from Walden University in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and a BS in Nursing degree from the University of Louisville in Louisville, Kentucky. Prior to joining EECH, Dr. Gebreamlak served as a nurse practitioner with Turning Point Clinic in Baltimore, MD, where he provided evaluations, diagnoses, comprehensive treatment plans, preventative health measures, and vital health education to patients. He also facilitated addiction treatment services and advised patients on their self-management of acute or chronic illnesses. When not treating EECH patients, Dr. Gebreamlak loves to spend quality time with his wife and children in Lorton, Virginia.
Hello, my name is Medhin Gebreamlak. I'm a doctor of nurse practitioner in psychiatric mental health and family nurse practitioner. Work at the Elaine Ellis Center of Health. Today, I'm going to talk about epilepsy. Let me start by describing what's epilepsy. Epilepsy is a central nervous system which is neurological disorder in which brain activity become abnormal and causing seizures or periods of unusual behavior, sensations, and sometimes loss of awareness. Epilepsy is a chronic, non-communicable disease of the brain that affect around 50 million people, according to the World Health Organization. That's worldwide. According to CDC, 1.2% of the US population had active epilepsy, which means about 3.4 million people with epilepsy nationwide in the United States. That means approximately 3 million adults and 470,000 children, which this number showed epilepsy affect different age groups. So if we talk about the cause of epilepsy, epilepsy can be caused by brain damage from a loss of oxygen or traumatic trauma during birth, and abnormality of the brain function, or genetic conditions which associated brain malformations, and a severe head injury is another cause of it. A stroke that restricts the amount of oxygen to the brain, and also infection of the brain such as meningitis, and then also brain tumor. So we can talk about now about the types of seizures and symptoms associated with each type of seizures. So now seizures divided by two different types. One is called focal and the other one is generalized seizure. Under the focal seizure, there is what they called simple partial focal seizure. So some of the symptoms are unusual smell or taste, tingling in your arm and legs, an intense feeling of fear or joy. So the other focal seizure type called complex partial focal seizure. During a complex partial seizure, person might lose sense of awareness and make random body movements such as smacking of lips, rubbing hands, making random noises, moving arms around. That's the symptoms associated with this disorder. Now, when we look at the generalized seizure, there is different types under the generalized seizure. The first one is tonic-clonic seizure. A tonic-clonic seizure, previously called grand mal seizure, what most people think of when they think about seizure in general. So this seizure have two stages. One of them is initial or tonic stage, shortly followed by the second one, clonic stage. The tonic stage, patient experiences loss of consciousness, body goes stiff, and person may fall to the floor. On the clonic stage, patient limb jerk about, may lose control of bladder or bowel, may bite their tongue or inside their cheek. They might have difficulty breathing. So the seizure normally stop after a few minutes, but some last longer. Afterwards, some people complain of they might have a headache or difficulty remembering what happened and feel tired or confused. So the second type of the generalized seizure is absence seizure. The absence seizure, where a person loses awareness of surrounding for a short period of time. They mainly affect children, but also can happen to any age. During absence seizure, a person may stare blank into space, look there like daydreaming, and they make slight jerky movement of their body or limbs. Now, the other type of generalized seizure is myoclonic seizure. The myoclonic seizure is where some of or all of the body suddenly twitch and jerks. They often happen soon after waking up in the morning. So there is another type of generalized seizure called clonic seizure. Clonic seizure causes the body to shake and jerk, like tonic-clonic seizure, but the person do not go stiff at the start. They typically last a few minutes. A person might lose consciousness. Another type of generalized seizure is tonic seizure. Tonic seizure causes all muscle to suddenly become stiff, like the first stage of tonic-clonic seizure. They might mean a person lose balance and can fall over as well. So the last one is from the generalized seizure, atonic seizure. Atonic seizure causes all muscle to suddenly relax, which causes a person to fall to ground. They tend to be very brief and usually be able to get up in again and straight away. So now, when to seek help? So the patient, they need to seek help or talk to their providers if the seizure lasts more than 5 minutes, breathing or consciousness doesn't return after the seizure stops, a second seizure followed immediately, or the patient have high fever, or if a patient is pregnant, or a patient taking medication, but the seizure is not resolved. That's the time mostly patients should seek help. So now symptoms of focal seizures, what we talk about the first seizures, sometimes confused with other neurological disorders such as migraine, narcolepsy, or mental illness. So sometimes people, they, because of the symptom, they seek help, but they might feel like they have a mental health issue because of the confusion, the anxiety related to that disorder. So it's very important to rule out that. So some of the, let's say, some of the misconception about seizure, people would say, if I have had seizure, that means I have epilepsy. So the fact is, the person diagnosed with epilepsy, when he or she have 2 or more unprovoked seizure that occur more than 24 hours apart. But when something provoke a seizure, such as like binge drinking or sleep deprivation, or patient start on medication, this is not related to epilepsy. The other misconception is people with epilepsy are mentally ill or emotionally unstable. Like I mentioned earlier, people, they might feel like they smell things and they see things, or confused. They might feel like there's something wrong with them psychologically or mentally. But epilepsy is the umbrella term covering many types of seizures. and it is functional, physical problem, not a mental one. So, it has many unidentifiable causes, but it's not a mental issue. The other thing people usually they talk about epilepsy is most common in children. As I described it earlier, epilepsy can happen to any age group, including children. So that's my description about epilepsy and for this epilepsy awareness month. Thank you very much.
Yes, so on one of our very unique young men that we had, part of our Mighty Kings were our very first, and this was my mentee. His name was Prana Bell, and he was such a unique young man. He was one of the ones that, I mean, this young man was like, he was an old man. He had a presence about himself. He had a charisma about himself that he was so young, he was so polite, he was always courteous, and he was one of my favorite young mentees ever. And so what happened was this past year, he suffered from epilepsy.
Yes,
and he had he passed away from it. And so on today, we have his mom here. He was our very first young Kingsman, and he touched each and every one of our hearts. He participated with some of our activities. He always was willing and looking to help and to give a helping hand. I tell you, this was a young man, when you met him, you would never forget him. And so we have his mom on here today. We want to honor him. Being as though this is Epilepsy Awareness Month, we want to also shine a light on our very young Kingsman, Mighty King, and we're grateful for her and her presence on today. Sakim, if you don't mind introducing her to our podcast.
So this is OG Prana,
Yes.
Prana Bell.
Yes.
She is a battle rapper. She's an actress. She's a hairstylist. She is a super mom. She has a movie out called Drunken, out on Amazon, Hulu, Tube, and etc. She also played sports in high school and was in a band, and which would explain where Mighty Bell got most of his skills from, because he was also so athletic. You know, I haven't met Mighty Bell so much on the court, but for what I've heard, this cat was a beast.
He was a monster.
He was a monster, and he can talk you. I don't know. I've just heard stories, you know, and Ed probably could tell you, more about that and his mom. But we are ready to introduce you to the world of you was there.
Yes, I was. Fortunately, not unfortunately, but fortunately, I was there. He passed in the house. So he went from a bed to the couch to the floor because of the epilepsy and the seizures. Marty was about 6'2", 6'3", 182 if he gained some weight. So he was a big fella. And that thump would be so bad, and I didn't want him to get head trauma and stuff like that. So we moved him to the couch, and he kept going off the couch. So he made a pallet for the floor, and that's where we're safest at. But yes, I had a show that Saturday night that he went the previous Saturday to my show. And then I had a show the following Saturday. And I don't know what it was, but he got off work with you guys that Saturday. He came home, he took that pink house shirt off and everything. And I said, "You want me to my show?" He was like, "I don't know, Mom, I'm tired." I'm like, "You know what? I don't know. I am too, though. I might not go." Even though you're not supposed to stand up a show, but you don't make it to all your shows if you're not feeling well. And then I said, "You know what? I'm going to just go ahead and go." I had 2 sharp pains in my thigh, like something was telling me to sit down. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So then I said, "I'm not going to go." Then my stomach started hurting, like a nauseous feeling, like overwhelming nauseous feeling, but I didn't eat anything bad. I didn't drink. I didn't do nothing. I'm like, why do I feel sick? So Marty came in my room. I was laying in my bed. Marty came in my room. He was like, Mom, you going to bed early tonight, ain't you? I said, yeah, boy, I don't feel too good. He was like, all right, I love you, good night. I was like, I love you too. He left out the room. What I didn't know was him and his sister, my daughter Princess, sitting over there, were up to like 4:30 in the morning. She had a battle coming up. She battle raps as well. She had to battle Lil Slap. And she was up all night practicing these bars. And her and her brother had a conversation, she said, and they talked about my mom, who was deceased as well. And they told each other they love each other, and they went to bed. I got up about 7:45, I would say. Now, like you said, y'all said Marty's has an old soul. I wake up early. That boy's up before me. If I'm up at 7, he's up at 6. If I'm up at 6, he's up at 5. I don't know what it is, but that boy always got up an hour before me. So I was just locked in for a battle as well. I just got a deposit 2 days before this happened. Friday, I got a deposit. So I gets up Sunday to say, well, let me write for the battle, right? But then I say, why he not up yet? But I'm thinking he's sleeping over because it's Sunday and he worked with you guys the day before and he, said he was tired. So I was letting him lay down. And I said, let me take a shower. So then I said, wait, let me turn on the heat and check on him. But I'm saying all this in my head. Because all my life since I had my children, I don't know what it is, I look at them when they sleep too to make sure they're breathing. I've been like that since I had him. He's the first one. And when I went to peek around the corner to click that heat on and look at him, that blanket wasn't moving. I said, no. I ran over there. I said, Kyrie, because I call him by his middle name, I call him Kyrie. He's named after my brother, by the way, who's deceased as well. So it was a hard time for me to call him Marty. So I'm like, Kyrie, and I grabbed his shoulder, and it was stiff. I didn't graduate, but I went to EMT school as well, and I'm a volunteer EMS for DC Department of Health. So I knew what to do. That's how I helped him with his seizures all this time. So when I grabbed him, and I knew he was stiff, I knew it, but I had to roll him over, to make sure. When I rolled him over, he was lifeless, so he had to have the seizure as soon as he went to sleep from being up talking with her. He had to have it because he wasn't cold, but he was stiff, but he was still warm, so I knew it just happened. And I was so mad that I didn't catch it earlier because I could have possibly gave him CPR,
Yes.
and stuff like that. But I was there, and I had to recoup my baby, and I knew what I had to do, so I had to put my game face on, call the paramedics and stuff like that, and it was hard because she saw it. I had to run to her, then I ran back to him. My other daughter was home, and I had to run to her. It was like I was running. I didn't know. I really did not know what to do. I really didn't know what to do. But I just stopped and grabbed. I just laid on him and kissed him and kissed him and hugged him and kissed him and everything until they came. That's it about that day. That's just the worst day of my life. I thought me losing my mom would be the worst day of my life, but me losing my son was the worst day of my life.
Can you talk about how long he had suffered from epilepsy?
Marty was about 20 when he was diagnosed with it. Now, Marty was a healthy baby. Only thing, when I had Marty had acid reflux. I almost lost Marty at 2 weeks old, to be honest. Marty choked off milk and turned blue, and I saw it, and then my mom hit him, and he threw it up. Took him to the hospital, they found that he had acid reflux. That was the only thing ever wrong with that boy. That boy's always been hyper, playing sports, being bad, being a little boy, doing everything. And he went to residential. As a teen, he got out of residential. When he got out of residential, I enrolled him in Roosevelt because I wanted him, you're going to finish school, you're going to graduate, you're going to do it. I want you to go to college. I don't care how old you are, you're going to college. Mm-hmm. So Marty didn't graduate till about 18, maybe 18 or 19 probably, because of the residential. But we still pushed Marty quarterback for Roosevelt, baseball, track, soccer. He did all those sports. Marty had got scholarships to go to Chesapeake College in Virginia. Soon as Marty got to college, in about 4 to 5 months, Marty started having seizures out of nowhere. No one knew what was wrong. I'm like, this boy ain't been sick. What's wrong with him? Is it the meds that they gave him when he was in residential? Like, why is my son having seizures? I never gave him meds, so I don't know what's wrong. We took him to all the doctors, and they diagnosed him with the epilepsy up at Howard. He found out he could not play sports in school. Once he found out he couldn't play sports in school, that stripped him of everything, and he left college. He came back home. His dreams were crushed.
And you would say that was one of his ways out?
Yep.
Can you
He
talk?
had 20 ways out, but that was one of them.
Can you talk about his character and how he always was willing to help other people, and just, he was so giving, so kind, and such of a mature young man?
That boy had some big hands, and a big old heart to match, a big old smile to match. He would help anybody. It's been so many times he would call my aunts, my older aunts, my uncles, his grandfather, people that I would be so busy to go see. Marty would make the time to go see them. That boy told me when he said, Mom, I'm about to go down to PinkHouse and play the video game with her. I'm like, you play the video games with my aunt? This is my aunt. I'm 46, so she's older than me. You see what I'm saying? But you playing video games with my aunt? I'm just like, boy, you just always find a way to make people smile and be happy. If you're sad, he's going to crack the worst joke to make you laugh. If you're mad, he's going to do something to make you happy. Kyrie will walk in a room of ladies and start singing instantly. That boy could sing, he can rap. He could act if he wanted to. He just never got into acting. I always wanted him to get into the movies I was in and the web series that I was in. He never got to do a song with me, I would say, because I don't know why. Maybe, I don't know. He would always rap for me and say, Mom, listen to this. But every time I would say, go with me to the studio to do a song with me, he wouldn't do the song with me. Maybe it was because our styles were so different and he didn't think maybe it would work, but I would have thought of something that it would have been a mother and son song. He would always go help his granddad, Karamoko's dad. His granddad lost his hand to diabetes, and the granddad don't even act like his hand gone, so that's where Marty gets it from. This man does everything still, so he's always helped out my mom, my dad, my sisters and brothers. He has a close relationship with my sisters and brothers because he's the age of my younger sisters and brothers. He's 6 months older than my baby brother, and then I have a sister that's 2 years older than him, and a niece, so all of them grew up together. And it's just crazy, like they just was like thick as thieves, like all of them were brothers and sisters instead of aunt, uncle, nephew, and cousin. Great in school, very popular in school. Oh God, very popular in school. And back again, the ladies' man, slick dresser. Dress shoes, slacks, suits, ties. He loved it. He loved to hit them dress shoes. Clack on my wood floor.
Yeah.
That's my boy, take them shoes off. We're in the house now.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Yeah, he was definitely a dresser.
Yes.
With his shoes, his Nikes, he was on point. He liked to present himself.
Can I tell y'all something? So, I've always dressed Marty since I had him. My mom used to say, why you buy that boy them expensive clothes? He a baby, so what? He my baby, and this how I want my boyfriend to look, and this how my son gonna look good. Like the dude I wanna look at, right? So, cause I've dressed, nice too. So, dress him nice, dress him nice, dress him nice. Like I said, him and my brother were 6 months apart. And I heard Marty say at 6 to my little brother, cause he was very rough, I would buy this boy Timberlands, y'all, and the second day they're dead. I would buy this boy Jordans, and the third day they gone. I'm like, you don't get white shoes. I don't care what Jordan come out. If they not black, you ain't getting them. It got to the point I had to buy this boy all black shoes, because he would tear shoes up. I heard him tell my brother, my mom buy me Nikes and Timbs, and I dog him. I said, I'm in the other room, I said, oh, he think it's sweet. I took that little boy to the thrift store. I said, go shopping. Pick out anything you want. He was so mad he had to get them thrift store clothes. Took him to Payless and got him some honcho boots, and I made him wear it to school for a week. Because I wanted him to know, you ain't got to have this stuff I be buying. You can dress like your friends with them discount mark clothes or whatever. Just saying. He wore it for a week, and he felt bad about it. After that, the next Monday, I let him wear his clothes back. Every day that boy came home from school, that boy took them clothes off and hung them up in their closet and put them shoes back in that box and said, Mom, can I put this on for play clothes? That's why he dressed good like that and take care of stuff. I had to mentally, you don't have to beat a child all the time. You can mentally teach them things, you know what I mean? So.
Let me say this. Marty touched the lives of the members of the PinkHouse Group, and
Yes.
he was such a kind person, and we were so grateful to have met him and to have known him. And so on behalf of the PinkHouse Group, we're going to, excuse me, on our facility, we're going to build a basketball court in his honor and in his memory. And a part of this podcast is for
Thank you so
for
much.
helping us with that. And we want to say thank you that you did an awesome job. His memory
Thank you.
will be always in our hearts. We will honor this young man. He is such a special he was such a special person, and we're grateful for
No,
that.
he still is.
Yes.
He still is. You all are doing a foundation and naming a basketball court. After my son, y'all don't know what that means to me. I've been rapping since I was 24. He had to be about 6 or 7. He's been there the whole time. When Marty grew up and got into them sports, that I threw that football to him and told him, if you make this football team, I'm gonna buy you some Bo Jackson gloves. That boy made quarterback at 7. I knew when I had him, he was gonna be special. Excuse me. So, I told myself, as a reward to my children, when I make it, I was gonna buy all of them something for their life. I promised my son a sports, and I was gonna buy him a run and shoot building. So you all doing this, it's still giving him his building that I wanted him to have. For when I left, his name could live on. My son's name will live on forever because of the Pink House. And I love you all for that. Y'all don't know how much I love y'all for that. Y'all don't know how much I brag about that. My son did not die for nothing. He did not die in vain. My son died to help people, what he was doing when he was living. This is what this is about. If you have a son, I don't care if he's healthy or have epilepsy, hug your son. Hug your son. Talk to your son. Keep your son. Don't throw your child. I don't care what child, his son or daughter. Don't throw him to the street. Don't put him out. My son was still home with me. He left. He went to get help from you guys. He tried to do it on his own. But ultimately, he always had to come back to mom. Why? Because I knew what was best for him, and I knew he had the epilepsy, and I had to help my son. I could not put that on nobody else. He stayed with an aunt, a sister, stuff like that, and they'll call and be like, Prana, he got to come back home. This too much. It was too much on them.
Just know this, your family is in our prayers.
Yes,
We grieve the loss of Marty. I was running errands the other week, and I really honestly looked at my phone, was getting ready to dial his number because he would be my guy that will run errands and do stuff and pick up stuff, and I miss him tremendously. Just know, let your family know, your friends know, you are in our prayers, and we thank you for being with us on today.
Yes, sir.
And I just want to add this too. I spent some last moments with him as well. And actually Monday, when I went to work after all the events and everything, I was really expecting him to call me.
Yep.
Because that's who he was. Hey man, I had fun at the event.
Yep.
You know, and he was always on time.
Yep.
Before
time.
I was late, and he like
Before time.
Are you coming? Are you coming? I said, yeah, I'm on my way.
Don't
man,
tell
Marty,
him
I'm
meet
on my
you
way.
nowhere. He gonna be there way before. You gonna make you feel bad that
that's
you
what
ain't
he
there
was.
yet.
And he did, and he called, and I said, yo, I'm coming. I'm like I felt like a mentor, but I felt like he was teaching me something.
Right.
Mighty Bell made you feel like he was teaching you something versus me teaching him something. But the greatest thing that he did was he never laid down. He never let his guard down. He was persistent. Once he saw that he had people who cared for him. You know, I felt like a father figure at sometimes. You know, men, we generally sometimes don't have an outlet to talk things out. But he needed an outlet.
I can agree to that. Me being a mom and a female, you know, certain things he wanted to talk about, and I understood some, but you know, all I couldn't understand it. And that's why I love you guys, because that's what y'all came in at. That's what the mentor's for, right?
Yeah. But
Is that right?
Yes, it is. But I'm going to leave it on this note. One thing Marty Bell talked the most about, he talked about his sisters. He loved his sisters.
Yes.
He loved his sisters. And he would do anything that he could to protect them.
Yep.
He would do anything he could to protect them.
Yep.
No matter what.
Yep.
And the greatest thing he did, he talked about his mom. He talked about you. This boy talked about his sisters. He talked about y'all. That was his soul.
Yeah.
That was his soul.
That's why God made him be home when it happened. God didn't want nobody else to find him but me. I brought him here. I had to send him off. That's the thing that kind of keeps me together a little bit. I'm grateful for that. I'm glad no one else found my son, or he passed away somewhere else. I'm glad my son didn't get killed in the street. My brother got killed at 19. So I was extra hard on him because I didn't want that to happen to him. This is why you all knew the Marty that you knew. I'm from the hood. You can look at me and tell I'm from the hood, but you couldn't look at my son and tell that. I made sure that.
And I want to say you and his father did an amazing
Yes,
job.
thank you.
Amazing
Shout out
job.
to Kermoko Lawrence. Shout out to Kermoko. Yes, a lot of that was his dad. His dad was in the military. His dad comes from a wholesome family. His dad was a counselor down in Lorton and ran Union Temple Church and ran the Unifest. So, like, he comes from good things, and all families go through stuff, and yeah, we argued a lot because I was a woman and he was a man. But at the end of the day, I always told him, he said, you always take up for Princess. And my daughter named Princess. I said, you the prince, so now what you saying? And that shut him up every time. He wouldn't say no more after that. I said, you the prince, now what? If I was thinking back then, your name would have been Prince Marty, and not just Marty Bell. It would have been Prince Marty Bell if I would have knew then what I know now.
Well, the greatest thing is, on his casket, y'all, he was wearing a crown.
Yes.
And even laying there and still, he wore that crown well.
Amen.
He wore it well.
Ooh, he had that thing on like he was standing up.
I couldn't tell that he was dead.
Thank you.
He's alive.
Yep.
And he's alive in our hearts.
Yep.
So we're definitely thank you. And
Thank you,
like
you
Ed
guys.
said, you were in our prayers. His name will live on forever because he wanted to help boys and girls, the
Yes.
Boys and Girl Club, and
That's why I wanted to get him that building,
Yeah.
like the run and shoot, because that was his dream. He wanted to run a Boys and Girls Club.
and because the situation that he was in, he wanted to do even more.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we thank God for having you here.
Thank you.
We thank God for knowing Marty Bell,
Thank you.
and may his legacy continue to carry on.
Thank you. Can I say one more thing?
Go ahead.
It is National Epilepsy Month. And Princess, what happened when we was out the other night all week? What we been saying? That bridge down the Navy Yard? It's been purple every night. And I'm going to tell y'all, I put that bridge on my son's obituary and I put his picture real big over top of it. When you cross that bridge, you scream his name. You hear me?
Yes.
When whoever watching this, you cross that bridge over at the Navy Yard, the new 6 arches, yell my son name loud as you can for me, please. I promise I'll hear you. I promise I'll hear you. So y'all see them purple lights up? That's for my son. Yell his name, please, for me. Thank y'all so much for having me. I'm working through this. I know I'm gonna get through it. He's been helping me. I got my chain, I got my urn, and he's next to my heart all the time. A lot of good things been happening since Marty's been gone too. I moved, I got a new place, we got a fresh start, I got a new little gig, it's just been a lot of good things happening, and I know he's still helping. That man is in God's office.
Amen.
You hear me?
Yes.
Please, can you help this person? And can you help them too? I know he is. So keep doing what you're doing, baby boy. Keep doing what you're doing and fly high. Thank y'all
Appreciate
so
your
much.
time. Appreciate everything. Amen.
Amen and peace.
You to do is to make some noise. Let's go, everybody. Clap your hands. Everybody, just clap your hands. At home, just clap your hands. Right where you are, just clap your hands. Everybody on the couch, just clap your hands. If you're in the kitchen, just clap your hands. No matter where you're watching, just clap your hands. And it goes a little something like this. Don't ever let me go. The joy that floods my soul, even when I'm worn. Your love tells me to grow. Don't ever let me go. The joy that floods my soul, even when I'm worn. stuff tells me to grow, so I'll grow in you. You're all that I need. It's in you that I live, so I'll grow in you. You're all that I need. It's in you that I live, so I'll grow. So I'll grow. Hey, hey, so I'll grow. So I'll grow. One more time. Don't ever let me go. The joy that floods my soul, even when I'm on. Your grace tells me to grow. Don't ever let me go. The joy that floods my soul, even when I'm on. Your grace tells me to grow, so I'll grow in you. You're all that I need. It's in you that I live, so I'll grow in you. You're all that I need. It's in you that I live, so I'll grow. Hey. Yes, I will always grow. In Him I will always grow. Yes, I will always grow. Hey, so I'll grow. Yes, I will always grow. In Him I will always grow. In you I will always grow, Lord. Here's my favorite part. Don't ever let me go. You are the only way I'll grow. Don't ever let me go. You are the only way I'll grow. Don't ever let me go. You are the only way I'll grow. Don't ever let me go. Hey, you are the only way I'll grow. Yes, I will always grow. In Him I will always grow. Yes, I will always grow. Hey, don't ever let me go. You are the only way I'll grow. Don't ever let me go. You are the only way I'll grow. Hey, the only way I'll grow. You are 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 the only. Come on, if you believe it, sing it from your heart. You are the only way I'll grow. You are the. Now everybody clap your hands. I'm here to learn a lesson. You are the only way I'll grow. If that's your testimony, sing it with me. Lord, I'm here to learn a lesson, and you are the only way I'll grow. Hey, let me hear you say, you are the only way I'll grow. Say you are the only way I'll grow. At home, say you are the only way I'll grow. Say you are the only way I'll grow. Clap your hands. Right where you are, just clap your hands. Right where you are, just clap your hands. Hey.
So, welcome back. We here today with Chief Nursing Officer, Chief Nurse Executive of Poplar Springs Behavioral Health Hospital, and Executive Vice President of 100 Black Men in Prince George's County. His name is Kent Alford. Kent Alford, RN, MSNC, BSN, BC, PHHN, is an ANCC board-certified psychiatric registered nurse and current Chief Nursing Officer, Chief Nursing Executive for Poplar Springs Behavioral Health Hospital with over 400 employees and 220 beds. Serving adolescents and adult patients. Kent is also the former Systems Behavioral Health Director for University of Maryland Capital Region Health with over 80 employees and scope of 3 hospitals. Kent is a former Chief Nursing Officer for Behavioral Health and Nursing Shady Grove Adventist Behavioral Health, a major hospital in the DMV with over 400 employees and 185 beds. Kent also serves as the Executive Vice President of the 100 Black Men in Prince George's County. Education profiles includes Copen State University, BSN in nursing, family nurse practitioner, master's in nursing, Howard University, current postmaster's family nurse practitioner student, second year, United States University. Kent has over 20 years of behavioral and health experience as working as a clinician, child mobile treatment, inpatient and outpatient behavioral services, and over a decade of executive and senior executive experience. Kent serves on several community-level mental health committees. Kent is the co-chair Behavioral Health Advisory Group and the Maryland chair of the Behavioral Health Committee, NAACP. Chair of Behavioral Health, Maryland chair of Behavioral Health Committee, NAACP chair of Behavioral Health Committee, board member, Psych U Stigma Committee. Kent also adjunct facility Catholic University BSN program. Kent has published articles in the comfort room and inpatient behavioral health settings. Kent has piloted many state-of-the-art programs and behavioral health programs around the state, including but not limited to psychiatry and at both Prince William Hospital, Washington Adventist Behavioral Health, and current UMCRH. Kent also is a member of the 100 Black Men Prince George's County Deputy Director of Intake and recently won the HCNA Employee of the Year 2020. So we welcome you. We welcome you today. This episode today is on epilepsy awareness, and we want to give the world, the nation, or whoever's logging in, what is epilepsy and how it affects young people and older and youth. But we applaud you today, and I give you my hands of gratitude for your accolades, definitely your profession. So with no further ado, we're going to hear from Kent Alford.
Good, okay. First of all, I want to say thank you. Well, reading that, I didn't know who that was. Like I'm sitting over here and I'm hearing, is that me? No, but definitely I'm humbled to do all the work I do, both in nursing, primarily behavioral health, but as you mentioned now, as a second year family nurse practitioner student, moving away from behavioral health, but doing other things. And definitely why I'm here today is to talk about epilepsy and seizure management. First of all, and again, thank you for inviting me here. The content for this presentation is actually coming from the Epilepsy Foundation, so it's accessible to anyone that need it and want to, see it. I always look at evidence-based literature to make sure that, obviously I do have clinical experience, but people need to see it and know it, and you can actually find these slides in the Epilepsy Foundation, and I will send it to you proper as indicated. So I want to talk a little bit about epilepsy, this thing called epilepsy. Most people think they know, they've heard it, they don't really know what it is, so I'll kind of break it down from you from a nursing level as well as a level that you could maybe talk to a third grader about it. So we're going to learn a lot about epilepsy. And again, this is interactive. So you have a question for me, we'll stop and kind of walk through it. First thing, epilepsy, what is it? It's an interchangeable term. We can use it with a term called seizure. So you hear people, they had a seizure, or was it epilepsy? Epilepsy itself is the medical term, but most people define it as having a seizure. So think in your mind what a seizure looks like when you see someone maybe falling to the ground, having these uncontrolled movements. That's considered a seizure. Well, technically speaking, the person may be having an epileptic condition, okay?
So I know sometimes you can think you're having a seizure. Does like a blank stare or something kind of give you that someone is having it?
Yes. In fact, when I go through the information today, what you should walk away with learning, there are two types of seizures. There's the one that you can see, the one we see on TV, see dramatized, and there's the one that you mentioned, where you have this blank stare, staring into the air, not having any kind of focus. But if we could put a microscope to your brain, we could see all these electrical things firing off, and they're not purposeful. And that's a different kind of seizure that we'll talk about today. So there's two types that we'll learn today in the presentation.
Thank you. Question.
Yep.
Is there anything that just triggers it? Kind of like, I won't say you're born with
Sure.
it. Like you can go through 20 years of your life healthy, no symptoms, and all of a sudden, that
Absolutely.
one day, you're having a seizure. Is there something that triggers that you might have done, say, 5 years ago?
So the answer is yes and no. I'm going to go to the content real quick. I'm going to get to that. Great question, and I'll tell you what it is and what it's not. So for the, I guess the definition, the medical definition, it's basically a disruption of the normal functioning of the brain. You have these things in your brain called neurons. Neurons are like cells that talk to each other. They talk to each other via chemicals. They don't touch, they don't connect. They shoot out chemicals. You have dopamine and serotonin and all these chemicals. Well, with a seizure, the electrical part that stimulates this brain is out of whack. So it's firing off, it's not purposeful, and nothing is getting through. So the body reacts to that, okay? If that's as simple as I can explain it. It can appear as a cry, a fall, so a person might just start screaming, and you might think, oh my God, are they having a psychotic break? But they could be having an epileptic seizure. They're falling, they could have convulsions, so the hands are moving unpurposefully, the limbs, they fall out. You see them kind of spastic, moving around, almost snake-like. That's what we typically see when we think about seizure. That kind of seizure is called grand mal seizure. I call it a big seizure, big wave. Everything, the body is moving uncontrollably. Your head, you're screaming, you're falling, and you have no control of any of your limbs. And that's the one that we always see really on TV and even out in the public. Those are called grand mal seizures. That's a typical seizure where you lose all control of all functioning of the body because the brain is in kind of misfire mode. Think of the brain like an engine. You know, if your engine misfires, what happens to your car? Your body is the same way. It just looks differently, but it misfires, and then you start the writhe, uncontrollable movement, big called grand mal seizure. Now, the seizure you mentioned just a minute ago, that's called petit mal. Anybody speak French?
No.
Okay, I'll call it complex partial. How about that? Okay, it's a complex partial seizure. That one you kind of stare. You know, like, you ever see somebody like daydream? And I don't know if there's any educators on this podcast, but you might have children that just stare and blank stare all day. And they get in trouble, right? They get, disciplinary things. They don't do well in school. But has anyone taken them to a neurologist and had them put probes on their brain to see what's going on in their brain? You know how many people are missed by this? This one is not the one that you think it is. You can miss it. So you blank stare, You may have repetitive motions that don't make sense. You're kind of confused. You wander. You have incoherent speech. You lose your muscle tone. You may start taking off your clothes and you don't know why. And for the public, we might say, oh my God, they must have some kind of mental disorder. But in reality, the brain could be what? Misfiring, like a car engine. In this type of misfire, it's internal, and you really don't know it until you actually go to the hospital to a specialist and fix it.
Wow, so that sounds very dangerous. Like the gentleman we just spoke about, Mighty Bell, he pretty much really like died in his sleep. So what kind of, is that like certain things you kind of watch out for?
Sure. So let's talk about the causes, and I'm gonna go back to your question because you were right there where I want to be. So there are things that can cause seizures. So there are people there. So there are two types of things that will cause a seizure. First, people can be born with it, but let me talk about the second type. The second type is the one that you can control to a certain degree. A high fever. So when your body starts to get up between like 104, 105, 106, that's unsustainable for life. The brain will react to it. The electrons, electrical activity in your brain is disrupted. That will cause a seizure. That will cause everything I described just a minute ago. Particularly in infants and parents that have small kids, do not let your children get over, usually about 100, 101, you should be seeing a pediatrician because you don't know when that number is going to stop. And if it goes too high, that infant can have a seizure. So high fever is one. Number two, drug use. Did you know that alcohol withdrawal can cause a seizure? So let's say I've been an alcoholic all my life, and this is the week I promised my family I'm going to take myself off. I'm just going to go, go cold turkey, I guess. Cold turkey can throw your body into a seizure. We know that as psychiatric nurses, as medical professionals, that 72 hours after you stop, your body says, give me back my alcohol. And the way it says, give me back my alcohol, it will demonstrate that in the form of a what? Seizure. And that seizure is just as dangerous as a regular seizure. It's an alcohol withdrawal induced seizure.
Kind of like throwing the body into
a shock.
Sort of shock.
Absolutely. The brain is like misfiring, and it can throw you into a seizure-like activity. Drowning. So a person that drowns, the brain doesn't have oxygen, you can actually throw yourself into a seizure. The brain, the body's reacting to the lack of oxygen. If you don't eat enough potassium, that thing called potassium and glucose or sugar. If you don't have enough, your brain is like an engine. So think about a car engine. You need sugar to make that. That's your fuel. That's your gas. You don't have enough of that gas. Wow. Your brain reacts to that. Lack of gas could indicate a seizure. So we see people that are diabetic, like they cause something called low blood sugar because they don't have enough blood sugar in their brain. They can potentially have a seizure that we mentioned. Other things that can cause seizure includes brain tumors. You hear people that have brain tumors because the brain is a very delicate organ. It can be disrupted by that. Infection can also cause a seizure. So you get something called meningitis. That's a viral infection that goes to the brain, or a bacterial infection that goes to the brain. That can cause a seizure. A stroke. So let's say you have high blood pressure, and that blood pressure, you burst a valve in your brain because the pressure is too high. Your brain can react to all that blood being there and have a seizure. And then lastly, pregnancy or diabetes can also, women that might have blood pressure issues in their pregnancy, they are at risk for having seizures. So those are some of the things that cause seizures.
Just regular everyday things that you might just take for granted in a sense.
Absolutely. And that's why I wanted to definitely, again, there are people who may have some brain malformations at birth. That does happen, right? Outside of everything I mentioned. But what I just mentioned are things that can happen to you just from normal things that can happen, like, living. Exactly. Wow. So we're talking about the epilepsy again. You can have it where it's provoked by acute injury or an emergency. So that can happen with seizures. This is not contagious, so let me make sure I educate the public correctly. Epilepsy is not contagious. So if you have a seizure, you don't have to run away from me. I want you to monitor me, but you can't get it. It won't jump to you unless you're doing something to yourself that is outside of that person. It's not contagious. It's not mental illness, guys. So don't confuse this. I'm the mental health guy. This doesn't get you into a behavioral health hospital. This one would get you into a hospital for medical treatment because we need to monitor you. And again, this can happen at birth. So we can have persons having seizures we can see at birth. It can happen in childhood. It can happen as a teenager. Or it can even, you could go all your life and you have I talked about the petit mal seizures or the small seizures where you stare blankly. You could have had that all your life and not even known it.
I remember growing up. Well, I don't remember because I was a child when I had my seizure. I also had a seizure as a child, and my mom, I guess back in the day, they took you to we were real close to the doctor.
Oh, okay.
We were real close to the family, and she said, I shook the bed.
Really?
As a young kid, a baby,
Mm-hmm.
you think shaking
Wow.
the bed. So I shook the bed, and she said they immediately rushed me. We went to the doctor's house, and I guess they put a spoon down my throat.
Ooh, okay, we're gonna talk about that.
just to make sure that I guess I wouldn't swallow my tongue as a little kid. So yeah, and then my brother also had them as well because I think they say stress. Or
Right.
Sometimes you worry a lot.
Right.
It could probably bring. Is that kind of a?
I'm gonna say I haven't seen too much stress-induced seizures. If you're having a seizure, stress might exacerbate something that already is present. So it might be something already there and stress kind of push you to the edge, but stress itself, I haven't seen that particularly in my career, but that's not to say it can't happen. Remember, any disruption in the brain can cause a seizure. So stress can take you to a dark place.
Yes, it can.
I might be jumping the gun, but is there any type of training that you could take or anything that what you should do, like if you were walking down the street and you just actually see somebody
Yes.
fall out with a seizure, the proper way to at least save them in a sense
Sure.
before paramedics get there?
Absolutely. So let me give you, I'm going to speak through the eyes of a nurse, a registered nurse, what I went to school for, what I'm still in school for. The way we're trained to manage people that have epileptic seizures or seizures in general. First of all, you want to monitor them. So when they fall out, years ago, we used to put a tongue blade under their tongue and say, okay, put the tongue blade in the mouth so that they don't bite their tongue. But we stopped doing that. You know why? The problem is when you're having a seizure, we can't predict how your body will react to that seizure. So you might wind up biting off that tongue blade and it going down your throat. There are people who try to put their fingers down and hold in their mouth and they got their fingers bitten off. You talked about using a spoon. Oh no, a person can really cause a lot of dental damage and damage in general. We let the person seize without anything in the mouth. That's the first intervention. Don't put anything in the mouth. If you can, turn the person to the side, to the left side usually. The left side, you don't have to hold their limbs, like I saw a television show the other day, they was jumping on this guy, he was having a seizure. Everybody was grabbing his limbs and hold him down, hold him legs. The problem with that is some people have seizures that are so strong. You mentioned you shook the bed.
Shook the bed.
In nursing, we call those tentanic spasms. Those spasms are so strong, they can break the bone. So you holding down somebody's leg and they have no place for that energy to go, guess what's gonna happen? You're gonna have a broken femur because you're trying to do the right thing. Let them have their seizure, okay? And that seizure, turn them to the left side, call 911 because if you're not medical personnel, you're not gonna know. We know at a point where this should be stopping. You can't just have a seizure for hours, okay? There's a point where we know, and I won't talk about that today, but there's a point where we as medical professionals will say, this is too much. We need 911 support because now the brain is at risk from getting oxygen. That's actually called status epilepticus, but not for the public in general. But when you're having a seizure, turn to the left side, don't put anything in the mouth, call 911. That's the best thing that you can do. You might even see them, they might sometimes bite their tongue, but that's okay. Tongues regenerate. So we're not concerned about that as much as we are about that airway being clear so they can get oxygen throughout the seizure. That's the best medical advice I can give someone that doesn't have any training in seizures. Okay. Moving on to the slide again. I talked about the person can lose consciousness. So when a person's having a seizure, most of them don't know they're having it. So they're not going to say, oh yeah, I remember my body shaking. I remember, moving through this seizure. They don't remember. They lose consciousness. So that's part of the normal thing that happened. Their breathing may stop, guys. So when you're having a seizure, they're not just breathing normally like you and I are. They actually can have a cessation or a stoppage of the breathing. So you might see the skin or nails or lips actually turn blue. If it's a lighter skin person, you can really see discoloration. That's normal for the seizure in terms of that. Seizures should only last between 1 to 3 minutes. So 1 to 3 minutes is the normal time for a seizure. After 3 minutes, it becomes what I just called an emergency, and you need to activate an EMS response, meaning call 911, get some help, scream, holler, get somebody over there. After 3 minutes, it's compromising the blood flow in the brain, and that becomes more problematic. The person might even lose bladder control, so they could defecate or urinate on themselves because, again, the brain is misfiring. After the seizure, the person is usually very confused and they're very sleepy. Okay, so that's normal. They're not going to say, okay, I had a seizure, I'm good. Whoa, what happened? It wipes them out. All that energy it's a wipeout moment. And they are confused and they're very sleepy. So please note that. Let them go through that because that's part of what happens when people have seizures. 1 to 3 minutes, remember that? And again, I already told you the things that can happen with the different types of seizures. They don't look the same, guys. So it's important when you're going and talking about seizures, you really need to have a medical professional assessing that person after the seizure. They should see some doctor, particularly a doctor that specializes in the brain. That's called a neurologist. They'll actually put probes on that person's head. Now you don't have to stay in the hospital. They'll actually let you stay at your own house, and they can read your brain activity and understand what type of seizures you have. Person could be having seizures and don't even know it. And they can see it in the brain study, the brain scan. It's called an EEG. And they can actually see what that brain looks like on paper, and they can tell you what type of seizure it is. So please, 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 if you know someone, if it's you, if you had one, you never had one in your life, you must see a medical professional, a physician, nurse practitioner, or it could be particularly a neurologist. That's the guy who does the brain, specializes in the brain.
Quick question. I know COVID has been running rampant since a while now. Have you seen any cases or with COVID causing people to have seizures or anything?
Absolutely. So COVID, remember, one of the things that can cause a person to have a seizure is infection. So I mentioned meningitis, but COVID is a viral infection, guys. It's a virus. So just like a virus that would infect, it starts with the lungs because the SARS virus sucks the upper respiratory part of the lungs. So this is the upper part of your lungs. Like you put it in your mouth, your nose goes down, it grows in the lungs, right? And then it does its damage. And the damage also goes to all parts of the body. It can go to the brain. And we have seen seizures, absolutely. People lose their ability to breathe. They have fever. So as I mentioned before, a high fever can make you at risk to have a seizure. One of the telltale symptoms of COVID-19 is a high fever. It's not a 101 or 102. You come into the emergency room with a 105. You're at risk for a seizure because of the coronavirus. So that's something to think about, right? And yes, I have seen it. 2 years ago, that's every day. Of course, we didn't see seizures as much, but definitely people with high fevers came to the emergency room. Most of them made it, but some did not. So just some of the things that we give for seizures. This is not just see the doctor and good luck. We do have medicines that work. So I want to give hope. I don't want to go off away everybody's feeling like, oh my God. Okay, so hope. This is the hope part of the PowerPoint. Medicines we use, there are potent, powerful medicines that can stop seizures. So it's important to follow your doctor's regimen. The medicines that we use for seizures, Depakote is one. It's a powerful, potent medication. You take it, it takes about 7 to 14 days to build in the body, but once it works, it keeps your seizure threshold very high. So it takes a lot to have a seizure when you got Depakote in your body. It takes a lot because it's raising up your threshold to have a seizure. You have Keppra. There's another one we use a lot. Dilantin. Everybody heard of Dilantin before? Dilantin these are called anti-seizure medications. The side effect for Dilantin, I remember this in nursing school. I was like, who would ever want to take Dilantin? It makes you gummy. You know, it increases your gum space, makes you, we call it hyperplasia. But I'd rather have bigger gums than not have seizures. So I think that's a side effect you can live with, right?
Yes.
So we have also Neurontin, Tegretol, Lyrica. I mean, there's so many medications, and we have some really, really good physicians out there that know how to do this, guys, and nurse practitioners like myself, but the neurologists really knowing how to manage a person. These medications really put the seizure back to where you can have a normal life without having to worry about will this be the day I'm behind a car and I'm having a seizure. Okay, so that's the good news. The good news is that we've gotten really good with the medications. Again, knowing about seizures, they also have medical devices now. Guys, the science of this has gotten really, really good. So when I learned this years ago when I first started nursing school, they've gotten all kind of science behind this because they understand how the brain works. Sometimes they have, they can put an implant in the brain that can actually kind of regulate the electrical activity like a car. When your battery isn't working, you can do some things to make the battery work. They can do the same thing with the brain. And I'm not going to talk a lot about that, but there's a lot of things that can be done from the technical side, but mostly the medication side. We do manage seizures with that. And I can tell you from the medical part, it is effective. So that's the hope. Knowing the education, understanding what to do when you have a seizure, and then making sure that you have a good relationship with your primary care provider.
Okay. Also, when you're having seizures, after it's over, is there a possibility of memory loss?
So after it's over, you have memory loss related to the event during the seizure. So it's 3 phases of the seizure. The first one is, we call it the pre-ictal phase. The person may have this funny taste in their mouth, or they see this ring. We call it the aura, right? They'll see something knowing that, I'm about to have a seizure. So people that have epilepsy, they know when they're going to have a seizure. This is pure epilepsy, right? They have the seizure in that, so that's the loss of memory phase. They don't remember what it's like, what they were doing when they had the seizure. So that's your loss of memory. Then after they have that, that's called the post-ictal phase. That's when I told you they're sleepy, they're confused, they have no energy. That's when they start to recover from what happened to me, okay? So those are the 3 phases. Now, in the literature and what I've seen clinically, they don't lose memory of anything before that. You lose it during the seizure moment is when they have the memory loss. Another thing I wanted to say, a couple things. Sleep deprivation. I'm a nurse practitioner student, as you mentioned in the bio, and one of the things, we have this thing called Healthy People 2020. This is a government-driven initiative to promote health, and one of the things that we know that is, destructive to your health is not getting enough sleep. 4 hours is not enough, 5 hours is not enough, 6 hours is not enough, 7 is okay, but 8 is optimum. If you're getting less than 8, you are at risk for seizures. Wow. Your brain has his own cycle, what we call a nocturnal cycle, circadian rhythms, whatever you want to call it. And if it's out of sync, it can misfire like a car engine. So just important, sleep is a big deal, guys. So please pay attention to your sleep. Flashing lights. You know, a lot of kids that play video games, and I don't know if you've seen the one they got now called Oculus. They put the video game on your eyes.
Yeah.
Make sure there's no big flashing lights on those if you are prone to having seizures. Those flashing lights can actually trigger an epileptic seizure. Or like if you go to a disco and you see like these lights here, they were just flashing. If you have, your brain is prone to that kind of seizure, electrical dysfunction, you can actually trigger a seizure. So pay attention. Flashing lights, again, sleep deprivation. I talked about stress and making sure that the person, if they take medications for seizures, they have to take it every day. If they don't take their medication, the threshold will drop and it'll increase the risk for having a seizure. So it's very important to take those medications if you're prescribed. And that's pretty much all I have. I mean, I can answer more questions from you guys if you have any more.
Well, I've been very enlightened on seizures because, man, I'm going to definitely pay more attention because there's some things with the flashing lights and, you know, kids that are playing video games and some adults, we really don't think about these things. We don't know.
Yeah.
And I really thank God that you're here, man, that you're here discussing on, you know, these things. And that way we can actually tell our family because, you know, we all maybe have seen these things but never understand that it's an actual problem.
Yeah, this is something we don't talk about a lot, but it's common enough. Or you can have one, as I mentioned, infection. You can have a good 20, 30 years, never had one. You get an infection, and it causes you can have a seizure moment. So it's something to know how to keep the person safe. 911's not going to get to your house right away. So how are you going to manage that person until you get there? Again, turn them to the side. Don't put anything in the mouth. Keeping them and watching them, and then making sure they're breathing, and then, you know, getting medical support is indicated.
I know sometimes we only go to the doctor for how we feel. You know, we don't normally go to the doctor or our physician and say, well, I want to get checked for this, this, and this. Mm-hmm. We get checked for the normal stuff. So what is your opinion on what we should get really checked on in our body? Should we get a full body? I remember being in Texas. I went to a place called EHE, and what they would do is they'll do a full body check. You know, put you on the monitor and everything. I don't know if that checked for epilepsy or any seizure type things, but what do you recommend so we can know what's going on in our body?
So a good history and physical should be enough. That scan you mentioned, those body scans, those are world class. But most insurance companies won't pay for them. You know, I'm just being realistic to you. If you got the money for it, I say go for it. But most insurance companies won't give you the full body scan. They'll pay for your history and physical, but they won't do that. Just knowing your body is the best thing. Know your body. Know your body. Watch your alcohol intake and get enough sleep. Okay. Now, most people with epilepsy, particularly if they're having, like what I just mentioned, staring blankly, you want to pay attention to your children or yourself. Anything I describe you want to call a doctor, because they're not going to be looking for you for that when they do your physical. They're going to be making sure, they're going to be looking for the big things. And epilepsy, particularly when I talk about the blank staring, that one can actually get missed. So you have to know yourself, know your body, and know your children. Give that information to the physician, and then they can do the investigative work. They don't normally pick up on that unless they can. The grand mal ones is easy because you can see somebody, you know, falling out in rhythm, and then they lose their body. Then you say, okay, they have a seizure, but you may not pick up on the other one. So it's important to say, this doesn't seem right. Is there something else that we should be doing? In fact, long story I have, my daughter had petit mal seizures when she was a baby. We noticed her not arousal being jeopardized, and something as sensitive as that, they put the EEG on her brain. They let her stay over at the Mount Washington Pediatric Hospital. Come back, she had petit mal seizures. Nobody would have, she wasn't tremulous, she wasn't, having spastic movement, but she was staring just blankly at 2 and 3 years old, like, what's going on? So she's never had one since then. But there's something to know your children, know your body, and then make sure your doctor knows that, and then they can do more investigation.
I know sometimes, we're going to probably kind of wrap this up in a few minutes, but I know sometimes I stare blank into space, and it's like an absence of mind. Is that, because I know we say we got to watch out for a blank stare. Is that kind of?
No, so let me just say this. People stare blankly for different reasons. It's not always related to seizure, and probably 9 out of 10 times it's not related to seizure. You can have something called ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. I had that too. There's 2 types of hyperactivity, ADHD. There's the hyperactive type, and there's the inattentive type. Inattentive type, they're daydreaming. They're just staring blankly. Okay, and a lot of people misdiagnose because we don't know, they don't know what it is, they just do it, right? That's not epilepsy. That's something different. Epilepsy, again, the only way you know you have that is that you really have to go and get a thing around your head. A specialist will interpret the results, and a neurologist will tell you if you have it. If it's causing you problems where you can't get work done, let's talk about that. If any of these things I mentioned is interfering with your ability to work, go to school, with your family, you need to contact a specialist. But if you just stare blankly, some people do. I can give you one example. I drove here, what is that bridge, right, the Woodrow Wilson Bridge. Sometimes I don't remember that I drove over the bridge. I drove and then I'm home 10 minutes later. I'm like, how did I drive over the bridge? My brain went into a different mode. I don't think I'm having a seizure. I just don't remember being in the moment of driving over a bridge. That's a dissociative fugue. It has nothing to do with anything that I've talked about today. So again, if your symptoms that I mentioned today are what you can see or something you feel isn't right, please go to your physician and they'll give you a definitive diagnosis.
All right. Well, we definitely are, like again I said, we're floored about the conditions that epilepsy and the effects that it can do. We want to thank you. We want to thank you for appearing today on this podcast to enlighten our viewers and to actually enlighten us on the effects and how to be aware of what's going on. So, folks, this is RN Kent Alfred. We appreciate it, and we look for more information in the future from you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Once again, I'm Justin Thompson, and these are my brothers. And I need y'all to do me a favor. Everybody say bless, bless, bless. Let me hear you say bless, bless, bless. Right where you are, bless, bless, bless. Let me hear y'all say bless, bless, bless. Everybody clap your hands. We're blessed in the city, we're blessed in the field, we're blessed when we come and when we go. We cast down every stronghold, sickness and poverty must cease, for the devil is defeated. We are blessed. Everybody say bless, bless, bless. Everybody say bless, bless, bless. I can hear y'all there. Let me hear you say bless, bless, bless. Everybody say bless, bless. field. Hey, we're blessed when we come and when we go. We cast down every stronghold, sickness and poverty must cease. For the devil is defeated. We are blessed. No matter what you're going through, you are blessed. No matter what you're going through, said you are blessed. No matter what you're going through, you are blessed. No matter what you're going through, say you are blessed. Break it down. Late in the midnight hour, God's gonna turn it around. It's gonna work in your favor. If you believe that, come on and clap your hands. Late in the midnight hour, God's gonna turn it around. It's gonna work in your favor. Say favors in the room. Say blessings in the room. Favors in the room. Blessings in the room. 'Cause God is in the room. Say God is in the room. Say God is in the room. Right where you are, just clap your hands. Come on, clap your hands. Right where you are, just clap your hands. One more time, let me hear you just clap your hands. Break it down, break it down. Say favors in the room. Said favors in the room. Said blessings 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 in the room. 'Cause God is in the room. Said God is in the room. Come on and clap your hands. Right when you're home, just clap your hands. If God's been good to you, let me hear you say yeah. If God's been good to you, let me hear you say yeah. If God's been good to you, let me hear you say yeah. If God's been good to you, let me hear you say oh yeah. If God's been good to you, let me hear you say yeah. If God's been good to you, let me hear you say oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Come on, just clap your hands. Come on, just clap your hands. If you're in the back, just clap your hands. Watching on her, just clap your hands. Right where you are, just give God praise. Hey, we're blessed in the city. We're blessed in the field. We're blessed when we...
Hey, welcome back. We back here with our PinkHouse Prize organization, and we want everybody to donate. And this right here is the fact that we raffled off some tickets so that you could be a winner on today. And so we sold 92 tickets, and they all went for $10 a piece. And our number one big prize is this big old nice 55-inch TV, 4K. You can hang up on your wall, put in the put in the living room, family room, and we want to be a blessing to you on today. And so grab your tickets. I know some of our PinkHouse Group members have given you tickets. Grab your tickets, put it out in front of you, and we're going to go ahead and raffle off this TV. First, we want to say thank you for participating and being a blessing to us, and now we want to be a blessing to you. All right, so here we go. Grab your tickets, and here we go. Let's spin this wheel.
Spin the wheel.
And we're gonna see who's gonna win this big old nice 55-inch ticket. And here we are. Let's see what we got right. Oh, the winner is 25563. Ticket number by Brother Diedrich B.
Diedrich B.
You now have you a brand new 55-inch TV. Proud owner of a brand new. Thank you for helping us out, Dietrich, and you the winner of our big TV. Now, this was our big prize. So not only do we have this, we have now been blessed to also have a couple more auction off, a couple more tickets. So if you didn't win just now, you can have an opportunity a couple more times. And so now, we're going to auction off this nice air fryer. I know I just bought me one and I put my food up in there. I swear it tastes, hey, I don't even use the stove no more. And so this could be a blessing to you. So we're going to auction that off. It was donated to us for those who have bought the tickets. All right, let's spin this wheel one more time, fellas, and see what we got. Hey! What we got here, what we got here, what we got here, what we got here. Yes! Last three digits is 525. Ticket number 525, and it say Ahmed. Ahmed M. You are the now proud winner of our nice air fryer. Yes, yes. Thank you again for participating.
Good cooking ahead.
For participating with us. Not only that, you guys, you still have an opportunity to win on today with the PinkHouse Group. We thank you all for all your donations. You can also give $ PinkHouse Group, Cash App, donate to the positive cause. And so now we've been blessed with some lottery tickets. Where are the lottery tickets? Where the lottery? Well, we're going to split it up. This is what we're going to do. We're going to give the next winner 5 lottery tickets, scratch off lottery tickets, and you'll be the winner. Let's spin the wheel one more time, fellas. Here we go. 5 scratch off lottery tickets could win you millions and millions of dollars. And our now winner is Dawn. Last number the last 3 numbers are 554. Ticket number 554. And you just won 5 scratch off tickets. Thank you. One of them scratch off tickets could be worth thousands of dollars.
Yes, it can.
I love to go give me a little scratch off. Everybody want to win. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Everybody wants to win. Not only that, let's see. We got 5 more tickets. Let's spin the wheel for that one right there as well. 1, 2, 3, spin. Yes.
Who's it gonna be?
Ticket number 577, ending in the last 3 digits, 577, and it's Ariel. Ariel W has won 5 scratch-off tickets. Okay, so we have 2 more prizes, opportunities for you to win. I swear, I wish everybody get a chance to win. So we're gonna we'll spin the wheel one more time. Boom! We're gonna spin the wheel one more time to see who our next winner of 5 scratch-off tickets.
And who is it gonna be?
And it ends in 524. And that's Ahmed again.
He's on fire, isn't he?
Hey, is this the guy who just won the big 55-inch and he got 5 lottery tickets? My goodness.
God is looking out for him today.
My goodness. He got the air fryer. I'm sorry. I apologize. One more spin off. We have 5 more scratch off tickets, and we're going to raffle those off as well. So let's spin the wheel one more time. I do apologize. He won the air fryer, and he won 5 lottery tickets. He's on the roll. Put some butter on him. He on the roll.
For real, he's on fire.
And our last number is 529, and Miss Sally G.
Sally G.
You just won 5 lottery scratch off tickets. We want to say thank y'all. Y'all have been so supportive. Y'all have been such a blessing to the PinkHouse Group. You can continue to give. We're going to always have raffle tickets, all type of events that you can participate on, and we're grateful. But I wish I could have got me this brand new 55-inch. I know Dietrich will be truly blessed with this. Thank you all, and we appreciate your support.
And remember, go to the pinkhouse.org, where you can constantly give on a daily basis. It doesn't have to stop here. You can give on a constant basis. Give from your heart. That's just like Brother Ed said here. You can give a little or you can give a lot. We don't discriminate.
Amen. Right now, we want to thank all of our supporters, all of those who participated, Mighty Bell mom, our doctors, our nurse, those who have done videos, who have participated. We want to thank our administrative team who supported us in this endeavor. We want to thank everyone. We want to thank the churches, all of those who participated and helped us on our on-time giving, who donated to the PinkHouse Group, who supported the PinkHouse Group, who all came out give on Tuesday, made donations. We are tremendously grateful for each and every one of you all. We know without a shadow of a doubt, if it had not been for your giving, none of this would be possible. We also appreciate you all tuning in to our first annual podcast pertaining towards focusing on epilepsy. And we ask that you share this video, share to your friends, your neighbors, your haters, each and everybody, so that they could be aware of what the type of work that the PinkHouse Group is doing, and also to be aware of epilepsy. We appreciate you from the bottom of our hearts. Sakeem, can you please also thank some of our other sponsors?
So we would like to thank Harvest United Ministries, definitely for letting us use their building. Pastor Rodney and Faith Lewis, First Lady of this church. We would like to really thank you for the opportunity to use your space. And not only that, they're also partners also with PinkHouse Group. So we just give our thanks and our gratitude to the pastors of this church. We also like to thank Elaine Ellis Center with Dr. Medhin Gebreamlak, MD. We'd like to thank him for speaking as well, and RN Kent Alfred for coming out to give us an explosive demonstration and conversation on epilepsy and what causes it and what we can do together to understand or see if somebody's in that state that we can help. We also like to thank our film guys, our AVT techs,
Yes, sir.
Justin Thompson, Grant Thompson, and we like to thank Aaron. We'd like to thank our AV techs, man, for coming out and recording us today. And we pray, Lord, that we continue to do more to help with the battle of epilepsy and homelessness. And OG Prana, she's a rapper, she's a mother, like any other. So our prayers and our shout out go to her and her family and their time and their grief. You know, even though this thing was last year, sometimes it takes time to heal. So for those, who have any disease, we want to cover them in the blood of Jesus, that they're healed from these illnesses.
Keep in contact with our organization at the PinkHouseGroup.org. We appreciate each and every one of you all. We thank you for Mrs. Gordine and all of her vision and all of her work, her hard dedication, family and friends. We're grateful for each and every one of you all. We pray that God will continue to bless you, keep you, and guide you along the way. Thank you again. From the Mighty Kings, we are grateful for each and every one of you all. Have a blessed day. Amen.